Hello. All right. I am so sorry about that. If you guys were with us there in the beginning, we have been dealing with some major issues here. But I think finally got it all set up and running, and we shouldn't have any streaming issues on this go around. So I apologize. And so hopefully you can see Pilot back there up here. He's chilling. He's having a good time, and hopefully you guys are as well. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and hide Pilot unless he does anything funny, which he probably will. So let me turn this video off. Alrighty. So welcome back to the channel. Let's try this again. Today is Saturday, November 22nd, and if you're seeing this live, thanks for being here. If you're catching the replay, make sure to check the timestamps in the description to jump to the topics that matter to you. We have a lot of movement this week. If you felt like things were quiet after the government shutdown ended last week, you were wrong. The silence was just the gear shifting. So here is your bottom line for this week. First, Venezuela. The FAA just issued a major warning to pilots today. The USS Gerald R. Ford is in the region, and we are looking at a potential kinetic situation that could spike oil prices overnight. Also, the shutdown fallout. The historic 43-day shutdown is over, but the clock is already ticking for January 30th. Well, I'll tell you why this break is actually the most dangerous time for your wallet. Also, let's talk about domestic threats, with California getting hammered by atmospheric rivers again. Flooding, mudslides, and power outages are active just the last couple days. And then biological. We have had a confirmed case of new bird flu strain again in Washington state, just in time for Thanksgiving turkey prices to get complicated. So grab your notebook and your coffee, and let's get into today's SITREP. Topic 1 is Venezuela. All right, so Venezuela. We've talked about this quite a bit in the recent past. So let's start with the big news breaking today, Friday the 21st, so yesterday, Friday the 21st, my apologies. The FAA has officially warned all pilots to exercise caution when flying over Venezuela due to a quote-unquote worsening security situation, my apologies, and heightened military activity. The facts, it's not just words. The U.S. has deployed the USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest aircraft carrier, to the Caribbean. We are seeing bomber flights near the coast, and the rhetoric between Washington and Caracas, I can say that, I swear, is heating up fast, with the U.S. designating a drug cartel allegedly linked to Maduro as a terrorist organization. So, pretty crazy. Now, the prepper angle for you guys. Why do we care? 2 reasons. First, distraction and energy. See, whenever we have a massive foreign policy flex like this, you have to ask, what is happening at home that this might be covering up? Well, first of all, let's pause right there, because there's a ton that's happening right now. Can we say Epstein files? I'm not a crazy Epstein file guy, but at the same time, we need to look at that and ask, is this trying to cover something up, right? I don't know. It's a good question. But second, Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves. Even if their infrastructure is crumbling, a conflict there disrupts the global energy market. So, pretty crazy. Now, let's see. If you have been waiting to top off your fuel storage, gasoline, diesel, propane, do it this weekend. If this thing does go kinetic, speculation alone will drive prices up 20 to 30% overnight. Don't wait for the CNN breaking news alert. Fill up those cans now. All right, so I'm just getting something set up here. My apologies, so I don't get a copyright strike. All right, next topic is the government shutdown and the January 30th cliff. Sorry, I don't have any cool graphics or anything for you for this one, but We're moving closer to home on this one here. The 43-day government shutdown finally ended on November 12th. We are about a week from that now, and federal workers are finally back. Parks are open, and things are starting to get back to normal. And everything kind of feels right. Normal, right? Well, it's not. Government shutdown. Let's see here on Ground News, our official sponsor of the SITREP. This really is a false sense of security. The funding bill only kicks the can to January 30th of 2026, so a couple months from today. And here's what we have learned from the last 43 days. The system is more fragile than we thought. We saw delays in SNAP benefits, that's food stamps if you're not familiar, and research grants freezing up among a number of other things. But here is the insider risk rather. Supply chains that rely on government contracts, like especially some certain food distributors and medical suppliers, took a massive cash flow hit, and they are hurting right now. Just because the government is open doesn't mean those businesses have recovered. We might see a delayed wave of bankruptcies in the logistics sector in January and December too. So what should you do about it at home today? Well, you have a window of roughly 60 days of stability before the next fight. So use this time to do things you couldn't do if the services had stopped. So renew your passports, licenses, etc. right now. Also, if you need any elective medical procedures, please do that right now while you have an opportunity. If you rely on any government assistance or payments like food stamps, for example, build a 2-week cash buffer immediately because the fight in January is going to be just as ugly. So here's my recommendation for that. If you're on food stamps or things like that, my recommendation, treat it like you did not get it back for 2 weeks. Live low for a couple weeks to save up what you can so that way you have it available if you need it in the future. So just my thoughts, I know, but you guys can do a lot. But we can see a number of articles on this type of stuff. The other one that I mentioned this morning in the failed live stream that no one will ever know about again is the Trump administration is actually asking everyone to reapply for food stamps. And that's basically, he says it's to combat, whatchamacallit, basically fraud, you know? And so if you look at the data though, and I'll admit this is coming from a very left-leaning source, right? This is mostly, if you can see here on Ground News, it's a very 9% from left-leaning news sources. And it is mostly factual. 100% of the sources are, as you can see down here on the Ground News site. But still, it says that only 0.1% have been found to be committing fraud, and only 1.6 approximately, if I remember reading this right earlier, were actually institutional people committing fraud. And I make that akin to, like, say, you know, and I don't know the exact rules, to be honest, so forgive me, but like, say a frozen pizza, if it's cooked, you can't charge it for SNAP benefits, right? Because it's cooked food. But if it's frozen, you can get it. So they're calling these like frozen pizzas when they're actually cooked, you know? That would be institutional welfare fraud is the best way I understand it. So yeah, that's kind of my thought. We'll see. Let's see here. Oh, I don't know what I did. Oh, it's over here. All right. So the next one that we're going to talk about is flooding. This just happened recently in Southern California here. So we had major bouts of flooding here in Southern California. If you're here, you already know this. An atmospheric river hit around the 14th, and it's back for round 2 as of yesterday. I think it should probably be done now, thankfully. Now, places like Huntington Beach had streets flowing like rivers today, and we are seeing flash flood warnings across LA and Orange County everywhere. Some areas have even gotten as much as 15 inches of rain this month in total. I mean, look at these roads. These are crazy, right? I mean, and the football game, that's nuts. My daughter had a soccer game on Friday night last weekend, and they made her play. She was supposed to have one on Saturday too, but the field was flooded, so they canceled that at least. So these grounds are saturated, and that means that the next inch of rain or so can cause exponential problems, including mudslides, which especially in burn scar areas that we have a lot of here in Southern California, and trees coming down on power lines. So I think I saw the estimate of 16,000 customers had lost power earlier this week. So from a prepper angle, right? Always got to think of, what does this mean as a prepper? Well, this is a classic cascade failure. It starts with rain and the mudslides that block the roads. Then the power goes out, and now you're stuck at home with no heat if it's cold. You never know in SoCal, and no way to get to the store. So here's my action items for you today, especially for my West Coast guys watching here. Sandbags. If you are low lying, and it's probably too late for this weekend and yesterday, but just hear me out. Get them for the next wave. Also, make sure to charge your communication devices. If the power grid does take a hit from falling trees, cell towers often go to battery backup. Now, texting works better than calling because it takes less power, all of that stuff, but I also recommend things like a mesh network, which we do videos on our channel on YouTube about. I highly suggest that for these types of situations. And also, water storage. There's water everywhere and not a drop to drink. I know. Just hear me out. Flood water is toxic. Sewage, oil, chemicals. Do not touch it without waiters. Ensure your drinking water supply is sealed tight so that flood waters don't contaminate your stash and make it worthless. All right, so please keep in mind for the floods, right? Big deal for the floods. Now, let's talk about bird flu. So, H5N5 and flu inflation. Food inflation. My bad. All right. So I know where you're all thinking like, oh, viruses, right? They're all just viruses. I get it. Trust me, they are. But hear me out. This one can affect your backyard flocks, and that's why I talk about it. So this flew under the radar for a lot of people. Pun intended on that, by the way. November 17th, health officials confirmed the first ever human case of H5N5 avian flu in the United States, up in Washington state. And the nuance here is that we've been hearing about H5N1 for years. Well, this is a different strain. The patient that got H5N5 actually had a backyard flock. And now the CDC is really saying that the risk is low, but they always kind of do. But we need to look at the agricultural data. The poultry flocks are being culled again, and egg prices, which had stabilized, are starting to tick up as we head into Thanksgiving baking season. And now we have things like the turkey problem, right? The farmers have raised the lowest number of turkeys in 40 years because of fear of outbreaks. If you haven't bought your Thanksgiving bird yet, you might be shocked by the price tag or the empty freezer case. So, action item for this topic, right? I'm not telling you to panic about a pandemic today. I am telling you to look at your protein sources. For eggs, if you use them, look into glassing eggs or freezing them. Scramble them raw and freeze in muffin tins if you do freeze them. In terms of meat alternatives, if you don't have chickens, look at canned chicken and tuna. They're still relatively cheap, and you can stock up on a week's worth relatively easily. So for biosecurity, this is also a big deal for that. If you keep chickens, this is the time to lock them down. No wild bird contact whatsoever. If your flock does get hit, the state will make you depopulate them. And you know what depopulate means? It's you're killing them. So please watch out. Alrighty. Well, let's talk about civil unrest and supply chain issues. This is a big one, and it's really about our favorite thing that's opposite of fire, and that's ICE. I love ICE, actually. They're great. They're good people. I have friends who work for them. They are doing good work, and even though they're getting trashed on all the time. So let's talk about two quick hits on the stability front to close out our news for today. So let's talk about Chicago. Chicago had this ICE incident early in this week, and shots were fired at ICE agents in Chicago. Tensions around immigration enforcement are just boiling over. And with the protests against mass deportation we've seen simmering all year, The kinetic violence against federal agents is a significant escalation. And if you live in a major metro area, situational awareness is paramount right now. And please just avoid the protest zones. You know, I think we just need to stop. You can protest all you want, but do not get involved. Do not touch them. Sorry, pilots freaking out. Do not touch them. Do not mess with them. You know, we just need to let people be, you know, especially the federal agents. See, he's getting up and moving around. Sorry. But we need to let people be. Let them do their job. They are just trying to go home to their families at night. You can have your own political disagreement if you want, but just let them do their job, right? They are trying their best right now to do their job, okay? So, the other topic that I wanted to talk about is China, right? China. GM is leaving China. So they've actually announced, at General Motors that is, that they are moving out of China for parts sourcing by 2027. So that's just over a year and a half or so. And I know this sounds like business news, and it's prepper news though. And you ask, well, why? Oh, I have two on here. It is because it signals that big corporations who have the biggest risk analysis. Oh, I screwed this up this morning too. Analysts in the world have decided that the connection between the US and China is going to snap. They are getting out before it does. And this validates everything we talk about regarding deglobalization on a weekly basis. So expect parts for vehicles, electronics, and tools to get more expensive and harder to find as this transition happens. For action items on this one, spare parts, right? If you have a vehicle you rely on for bugging out, for work, or whatever it may be, buy the common failure points now. Alternators, starter belts, starters, all that stuff. Don't wait until 2027 when the supply chain is being rebuilt. Now, just real quick. Oh, wrong button. So I did want to talk about this ice item here. So ICE, right? We're going to go over to our favorite news site here, Ground News. And so I will go to this website here, or this article here, right? And we're going to see about Trump saying he's ending temporary deportation protections for Somalians in Minnesota. So this can be we got to find out, hey, I want to learn more about the story. Well, is it very well balanced? We can see up here in the top right, it has a bunch from the left sources, a bunch from the right, and a bunch from the center. We look down from there, it's got high and very high factuality. So that's really good. Also, ownership, where a bunch of them are 12% private equity, and then 60% are media conglomerates. So we can really judge a lot of this stuff based on where it's coming from and how factual. And you know what I like the best is it gives you a good summary of all the articles right here in the top. So that way you can just get a good judge from everything. And you can choose center. Do you want to hear from the right? Do you want to hear from the left, and see what each one is saying in terms of a wrap up of the story? But Ground News is a super awesome service. I highly recommend it. It's only $30 a year, and you get this opportunity, and you can just change your news from either Fox News, CNN to this. So I just want to tell you about them real quick, and we'll be right back to finish up this video.
The news is divided. Ground News puts it back together, so you can see how many sources are reporting on any breaking story, where they fall on the political spectrum, how reliable they are, and who owns them. Compare headlines and read full articles to see which details are prioritized, exaggerated, or left out entirely. Because the more we understand the media, the more we'll understand each other. Visit ground.news to learn more.
Alrighty, well, and I should mention, let me cut off the ICE video, my apologies. I should mention that we do have a link for Ground News if you want to help support the stream, the channel. It should be in the description or comments, whatever on your platform it does. And so you can check that out and check out the plans that they have for you at groundnews.com. And I highly recommend the Vantage plan. So, anywho, where was I at? Oh yeah. So anywho, here we are. That's basically the news stories for the week. We have geopolitical heat in Venezuela, weather hammering the West Coast, biological indicators blinking red in the Pacific Northwest. And here's this. I want your mission for the weekend. I want you to do one thing this weekend. I want you to check your light sources. With the storms in California and winter setting in, power outages are the most likely threat you face in the next 7 days. Do you have batteries? Are your headlamps accessible? Do you have a way to heat food if the stove or if you have electric is dead? Put a comment in the chat or drop down below. What is your primary backup light source right now? I want to see if you guys are relying on flashlights or if you've moved up to, say, lanterns or solar, one of the two. But the other thing that I wanted to do here, I'll talk while I bring it up because I slacked a little bit, is our video preview. So if you guys are new to this stream or you're watching earlier, I apologize. I had some issues with the video earlier. The one thing I like to do every week, because we do talk about news and everything, but our channel really on YouTube, if you're watching this on another platform, it really focuses on prepping and all of that different stuff. Is we talk a lot about getting ready just in case stuff hits the fan scenario, like a disaster. You could have, world collapse, anything. So we talk about a lot of that stuff, and then today we really touched on things having issues, especially the flooding here in Southern California. And so what I really wanted to touch on this week in the video for the normal channel, which comes up tomorrow, Sunday at noon, is 7 foods that are going to just absolutely skyrocket. And it's unfortunate, it really is, but after looking at a lot of the data, this is the best that I could, come up with. And so don't yell at me, just put it in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. So here is our video preview for the week about 7 foods that are going to skyrocket in 2026.
Seen it. I've seen it. You go to the grocery store, you buy the same 10 things you bought last month, and your bill is 20, 30, or even 40% higher. We've all gotten used to general inflation, but what I'm here to talk about today is different. I'm not talking about general inflation. I'm talking about a price shock, a sudden, massive spike in the cost of specific desirable items that will make them unaffordable for the average person. I've been analyzing the supply chains and the energy costs and even climate reports, and I've identified 7 specific food items I believe are set to skyrocket by 2026. These are items you probably have in your pantry or kitchen right now, and they're items you will definitely want when the stuff hits the fan. This isn't a drill, this is a strategic warning. Welcome back to the farm. Now, before you say I'm just fear-mongering, let's be clear, this isn't a guess, it's an analysis. The price of any item is based on a few key things: the cost of production, the cost of the energy to process it, and the cost of transportation to get it to you. And for the 7 items on this list, all 3 of those factors are flashing bright red. We're talking about crops that are hypersensitive to climate, items that are almost exclusively imported from unstable regions, and products that require massive amounts of energy to create. The time to be a casual prepper is over. It's time to be a strategic one. The goal of this video is to give you a 2-year head start, to get you to move these 7 items from your weekly shopping list to your long-term stockpile before they become luxuries. Let's get into it. First on the list, high-quality olive oil. Why will you want it? Well, it's a healthy fat, crucial for cooking, and a key part of a nutritious diet. Now, why will it skyrocket? Simple: extreme weather. Over 90% of our olive oil is imported, with most of it coming from Spain and Italy and Greece. These regions have been hammered by record-setting droughts and heat waves, devastating the olive harvests. Production is plummeting, and prices are already climbing. By 2026, a bottle of real, extra virgin olive oil could be a $40 or $50 item. The solution? Stockpile it now. Store it in a cool, dark place. The good news, you can also learn to produce your own fats. On the homestead, this means learning to render lard from pigs. It's a stable, healthy, and sovereign fat source that no drought in Spain can ever touch. You could also grow your own olives, but it takes a lot more work. Number 2, and this one will hurt a lot of people. I'm sorry. Coffee. Why? You really want it. Why you'll really want it? For many, it's a daily necessity. It's a morale booster, and in a crisis, a simple cup of coffee can help feel like a return to normalcy. It's also a fantastic barter item. Why it will skyrocket? Well, coffee is a massively fragile crop. It only grows in specific altitudes, and it's being decimated by both drought and a disease called coffee rust. Brazil and Vietnam, the world's largest producers, are in a constant battle with the climate. Add in soaring shipping costs, and you have a perfect storm. The solution? Well, you can't grow coffee in most of North America. The solution here is pure stockpiling. Buy green, unroasted coffee beans. Store in Mylar bags that can last for years. You can roast them yourself in a pan. And as a backup, start exploring coffee alternatives. Roasted chicory root or dandelion root are typical substitutes that you can grow right in your own backyard. Number 3, raw unfiltered honey. Why you'll want it? Well, it's the ultimate prepper food. It's a natural sweetener, an antibiotic, a wound dressing, and it never expires. Why it will skyrocket? Well, colony collapse disorder. The bees are in trouble, and without bees, you don't get honey, period. It's also an incredibly high labor product. The price of honey has been steadily climbing for a decade, and any major shock to the agricultural system will send it flying. The solution? This is a 2-part solution. First, stockpile it. Buy good, local, raw honey. Pay the $20 a jar now because it will be $60 later. Second, and this is the true homestead solution, become a beekeeper. A simple hive can produce 50 to 100 pounds of honey a year. You become a producer, not a consumer. And later on this spring, we're planning to do a number of videos about beekeeping and how you can keep bees yourself. Being prepared means being self-reliant, and nothing feels more self-reliant than a hot wood-fired meal, no matter the situation. Pit Boss Grills gives you the power to cook real food with real wood flavor, whether you're running off the grid or a generator. Don't just store your food, have a reliable way to cook your food. Be prepared for anything, including a great meal. Check out Pit Boss Grills at the link below in the description. Now back to the video. Number 4 is canned seafood. Why you'll want it? Well, it's a shelf-stable, ready-to-eat protein, no cooking required. In an emergency, this is one of the most valuable preps that you can have. Why it will skyrocket? Well, our oceans are in trouble. Overfishing, pollution, and rising fuel costs for fishing fleets are making it harder and more expensive to catch fish. The energy required for the canning plants is also a major cost. This is a high-energy, high-labor, resource-intensive product. The solution? Stockpile it now. This is one of the easiest things to buy. Every time you go to the store, grab a few extra cans. Focus on sardines, which are more sustainable and packed with nutrients. The homestead solution is to secure your own protein. Chickens, rabbits, and learning to fish your local waterways. Number 5, high-quality dark chocolate. Why you'll want it? Morale, morale, and morale. In a long-term grid-down scenario, life will be hard. A small piece of chocolate is a powerful psychological comfort. It's also a high-energy food. Why it will skyrocket? For the exact same reasons as coffee. The cacao plant is fragile and grown in a very specific politically unstable part of the world, West Africa. It's 100% an import, and it's a luxury. In a global crisis, things like chocolate will be the first to disappear from the supply chain. The solution? Pure stockpiling. Buy high-quality, 70% or higher, dark chocolate bars. They have less sugar and dairy, so they keep and store for longer. Keep them in a cool, dark, and dry place. There is no homestead replacement for this, sorry. Just stock it. Number 6, long grain white rice. Why you'll want it? Well, it's the most basic, shelf-stable calorie on planet Earth. It's the foundation of any prepper pantry. And why will it skyrocket? Wait, rice is cheap right now, for now, but the vast majority of the rice we eat is imported from Asia. We are entirely dependent on a 10,000-mile supply chain, massive container ships, and geopolitical stability. And disruption in that chain, like a war, for example, hint, hint, a shipping crisis, or a bad harvest in one of those countries, will cause prices to triple overnight. The solution? Buy it in 25 or 50-pound bags, not the 1-pound box at the grocery store. Go to a warehouse store or a restaurant supply store. Then repackage it properly in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. Stored this way, it will last for up to 30 years. Finally, number 7, hard red or white wheat berries. Why you'll want them? Well, this is your food, and your food's food. You can grind it into flour for bread, sprout it for greens, or cook it whole as a high protein grain. Why it will skyrocket? Well, fertilizer. Modern wheat farming is massively dependent on nitrogen fertilizers, which are made using natural gas. As energy prices soar, the price of fertilizer soars, and the price of wheat soars with it. It's a chain reaction. The solution? Just like rice. Buy it in bulk, 50-pound bags, store them in 5-gallon buckets, and you must own a high-quality hand-crank grain mill. Storing flour is a mistake. It goes rancid. But storing wheat berries is a strategy. They last for decades. Olive oil, coffee, honey, canned seafood, chocolate, rice, and wheat berries. This isn't a what-if scenario. We are already seeing the warnings. The droughts, the energy costs, the fragile supply chains. The writing is literally on the wall. The difference between panic and preparedness is a plan. Your plan starts today. Now, don't go into debt and don't panic buy. Just be strategic. Every paycheck, add a little bit to your stockpile. 1 extra bag of rice, 1 extra jar of honey, 1 extra tin of sardines. In 2026, when the rest of the world is wondering why they can't afford these things, you'll be secure, knowing you saw it coming and you took action. You'll be a producer, not a consumer. You'll be prepared. Thanks for watching, and if you found this valuable, hit that subscribe button. Now I want to...
Alrighty, well, hopefully you guys really enjoyed that video. I had a lot of fun putting that together, and honestly, in doing all the research for it, I learned quite a bit about things. So thank you guys once again so much. Please consider supporting our sponsors, Ground News. They're awesome. And for the regular videos is Pit Boss. And all of those links are in the descriptions of the videos. So thank you guys again. We truly appreciate it. Make sure you are subscribed to YouTube. We release all of our videos every week there on Sundays at noon, and you'll get that new one that we just saw a few minutes ago tomorrow at noon, and you can share that with all your friends and family to hopefully help them stockpile up and get lots of good things saved up. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining us. We truly appreciate it, and we will catch you on the next one.